Did you have any like intimidation or fear in going into an industry with such big players?
A little bit, but not really. I just wanted to go ahead and get it out there because I just feel like it's only 2 players in the space right now. So I just feel like there's room for more. When you think about like McDonald's or Wendy's, I mean, there's a Checkers for a reason. There's all these other fast food spots for a reason. So they're not the only ones that can take up space in the market. And so I just feel like putting ourselves out there just shows that there can be other players in the market.
Well, Jill, thank you for being on the podcast today. I have an app idea. We are the podcast where we talk to aspiring and emerging app founders on their journey to and through app entrepreneurship. And there's nobody better to have here than you. So thank you so much for being here today. And I want to just kick it off by allowing you to tell a little bit about yourself. I know you came from Athens. I know you be repping Athens hard.
You know?
So shout yourself out. Tell the audience a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my name is Jillian Anderson. I am the founder of HeRide. So HeRide is a female-friendly rideshare app. So think of us like Uber and Lyft, but we only have women drivers on the platform. Yes, I'm from Athens, Georgia. I went to Clark Central High School, graduated 2010, went to Albany State University, go Rams. Graduated in 2015, got my degree in computer science. Wanted to move to Atlanta. Always wanted to live in Atlanta. Loved Atlanta. I've always loved the city. And so moved to Atlanta in 2017. I started driving rideshare because I was trying to actually go pro for basketball. Mm-hmm. And so that worked out best with my workout schedule and stuff like that. Mainly at night, I used to drive, and so women at night would tell me, like, oh, yeah, I was canceling a ride till I recognized the woman's name, or they would tell me whatever crazy story that they experienced in rideshare. And so I was like, dang, this is something that, I feel like needs to be fixed. I feel like, it's just a feature that could be turned on the apps. Why haven't they done it yet? Realized that they, just didn't plan on doing it. So I was like, okay, well, I might as well just do it myself. Went to school. That's what I went to school for. So decided to get it done. And what are we, 5 going on 6 years now in? Okay. And so, yeah, it's been a beautiful thing.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story, because that was about the next question I was going to ask you about, like, how did you get into it? Was it their intimidation factor? I feel like, oftentimes when I'm talking to founders, they want to go into an industry where there are a lot of competitors, right? Yeah. And you got some 800-pound gorillas in this industry. So what was that like? Did you have any like intimidation or fear in going into an industry, or even trepidation about going into an industry with such big players?
A little bit, but not really. I just wanted to go ahead and get it out there because I just feel like it's only 2 players in the space right now. So I just feel like there's room for more. I mean, there's like, when you think about like McDonald's or Wendy's, I mean, there's a Checkers for a reason. There's all these other fast food spots for a reason. So they're not the only ones that can take up space in the market. And so I just feel like putting ourselves out there just shows that there can be other players in the market. You don't have to just rely on 2 rideshare companies when you want to use rideshare. So no, it was like a little bit of hesitation, but it was just like, it is what it is. Like I was just prepared for whatever may come from it. And of course, like copycat things and all these other things were expected. So it's like it is what it is. I'm just glad that it kind of helped validates our business model and what we are bringing into the market.
Have you experienced any pushback from those players? Like, what is that like? Give us a tease.
Yeah. I mean, so we're in the airport, and so it's just us 3 in the airport. So we have these monthly calls, so they knew that we were there before the public knew that we were there. And so the airport decided that they wanted to do their own press release because they haven't had a rideshare company added on to the airport in years. And they liked our company. So they decided that they were going to do their own thing. And Lyft decided to drop the day before that the airport dropped their press release that they were announcing their Women Plus Connect feature. So they've done little things like that. I think, Lyft stole our favorite driver feature last year. They were like, we're introducing a feature where you can favorite a driver. And I'm like, yeah, we've had that on the app since it's existed. So it's like little things like that.
How do you feel about that, and how do you respond to that?
Like I said, at first you can kind of like be like, dang, look what they did. But at the same time, it just helps validate what you already have. So it's like if there are people that have already been using your product, people already been using your service, they're like, I already know about, like, HeRide's already had the favorite driver feature. I've had it on my phone for 2 years now, like, stuff like that. So I don't feel a ways about it, like I said, because it just helps validate what we already have.
I think that's so interesting, and I'm glad you take that approach to it. You have that attitude about it because I feel like I speak to so many founders who kind of want to go into a space where there's big players, right? And they let that paralyze them. Like, someone taking your idea or stealing your idea, like theft is probably one of the sincerest forms of flattery.
Yeah.
And if you choose not to look at it that way and let that deter you, you'll always be in this place of stopping, starting, right? And you just kind of have to keep moving forward, regardless of, whether somebody takes your idea or not. It's about how you do it, how you approach it. And I think I love that part you said about your users saying, well, HeRides have that for 2 years because there's a degree of brand loyalty there where you guys did it first. You guys did it better. You guys did it authentically, right? Yep. And people notice that and appreciate that about you.
Yep. So, yeah, that's kind of the strategy that we're taking with it. I ain't really tripping.
For sure. Now, typically on I Have an App Idea, we typically have non-technical founders, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'm a non-technical founder, and so a big part of me starting this show, writing my book, and everything was about helping non-technical founders navigate the process. But you have a technical background, like you mentioned, you went to school for computer science. Which do you feel like that was a great decision for you? I feel like a lot in this day and age, in the era of AI, there's a lot of buzz about whether coding is still as relevant and if it's a great career path to go into. So I wanted to get your take on that. I know that's a departure from the apps, but I know you probably have some controversial takes on whether coding, computer science, and the trajectory of that career in the age of AI.
Yeah, so I'm technical, but I don't like to code.
Okay.
I got my degree, so I had to code in order to get my degree. But while I was getting my degree, that's when I realized I was like, oh yeah, this is not code like coding, being a programmer or software developer, software engineer, whatever job title you want to call it. I knew that was not going to be my working out of term. That was not going to be my thing. But after my first year of school, I had a summer job where I was working at a call center. Only job I've ever been like really fired from for real. Just like due to performance.
Yeah.
But we were supposed to cold call CIOs, like CTOs, IT directors of different businesses, because we were trying to generate leads for Dell salespeople to sell them servers. And we're not talking about like $100 servers. We're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Yeah. So, I realized in the midst of while we were doing the work, I was like, so I am making almost minimum wage to try to generate a sale for a salesperson who's going to go and basically close. All we do is essentially do everything but close the deal. They go close the deal. They make whatever they make for their commission, and I don't get any of that. Interesting. And I brought that up in like one of the
They ain't like that.
Oh no, they got rid of me very fast. They was like, "Oh, you're a little too."
The math is math for her.
They was like, "Oh, we can't have that, that rhetoric spread across
that critical thinking."
Because they had people that were like,
tell others.
Yeah, because they had like top producers at that call center that are like generating all these leads, and I'm like, y'all are giving these people gift cards. I was like, do they not realize how much money they could just be the Dell salespeople? I'm like,
basically.
I don't understand. So when I realized that, that's when I was like, okay, so I'd rather be like an IT director. I'd rather be a CTO. These people are on vacations for a whole month, all this other stuff. So I was like, if I'm gonna work in tech, I'd rather be the person that's being a decision maker. And so getting into help desk, getting into what I'm doing now, I'm like, this is the space that I'm most interested in being. I never want to be a coder. So like when you think about like platforms like ChatGPT, I've really been into Claude AI lately. I love it because I don't have to memorize like the syntax for everything. I can just tell it what I need it to do, but I also still understand the structure. Like I understand how an app is structured. I went to a boot camp for 6 months to learn how to build apps. Do I have an intention on coding apps myself? No, but I wanted to know the structure because when I do get an app developed and I do hire a team to do it, I don't want them to try to play with me.
For real.
So it's just stuff like that. That is the approach that I took once I graduated from school. But I always wanted to know the foundation.
For sure.
Yeah. Now,
before we jump into the app piece of that, and we'll talk about like your experience at the boot camp.
Yeah.
But want to just leave like people like you who have a computer science degree, right? Who might be feeling a little like apprehensive right now about like what's about to happen to their careers in the future. Yeah. What advice would you give to those who are feeling a degree of uncertainty or unsure about what's next as far as like computer science degrees and that career path?
I would still say pursue those paths. Just look at what's changing. So they talk about like software developers being replaced. Okay, we'll figure out how to manage an app on the cloud, since everything is going on the cloud. Figure out, everybody wants to hop into cybersecurity, but there's other things like DevOps. There's other things that you can do. I feel like computer science is such a broad landscape. When they talk about IT, they don't have robots that are gonna go and fix people's monitors and screens for them still. As much as they say that they're building out these AI agents, the people that are the users, we're talking about, they're not going to use them. They're still going to call. They're going to do the things that they're used to doing. Like I call IT when I need my screen fixed or when my printer won't turn on or all these other things. So
and there's just some things I don't want a robot to do. Like I don't want to go sit and talk to a robot about getting my computer fixed. I want to talk to a person and explain, hey, my screen won't come on.
I will tell people that, like, just thinking about, like, as soon as I graduate school, I'll be making $100,000 salary. I think those days are kind of over. I would say try to get in the help desk first and then figure out which lane you want to get in. I think the $100,000 salary is the next step. It's not that first step. Okay. So I don't think people should not to stop pursuing tech-related positions or stop going into school to study computer science. No, you still need to know the foundation because people still need to manage and run these AI platforms, whatever they are. So no, don't give that up. No.
For sure.
We still need folks there.
Now, I didn't know you had gone to a boot camp. I think a lot of times people, especially when they have computer science degrees or they have some type of business background, they nix the foundational education, right? And they think that I can forego that and I can jump right into building a product. What made you decide to go to this boot camp, and what were the key learnings that you took away from it?
Had a moment in my life where I was feeling like a big sense of like imposter syndrome in terms of just my abilities. And so I just really wanted to spruce up my abilities in computer science and coding. Didn't know if I really wanted to I didn't really know which route I wanted to go. I just knew I wanted to get my skill set up a little bit. So there was a full stack developer boot camp that I found out about. That's actually the City of Refuge was hosting. I think I was their first tech class that went through. I was part of that first class.
I actually looked at that class, but it was I heard it was really, really good, but it was like really demanding as far as time was concerned. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna have to be here all day.
Yeah, I had to get like an evening job in order for it to work out. I was there from 8 to 2 for pretty much every day. So yeah, it was really demanding, but it was worth it. Once I finished, I was very clear on like where I wanted to hit, where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to build an app. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, like what type of app I wanted to build yet. And so while I was still working the jobs I was working, I was just thinking of ideas. And I was working a pizza delivery job, and that's where I came with the idea for HeRide. So I already knew the structure. I already knew how I wanted it to be built. All I needed to do was find a company to do it. And so when I found the company, I got it rolling. I used all my savings, and that's that's where we're at now. So it's crazy. It's crazy how it kind of like to me. It seems like it happened really fast because I feel like ever since COVID happened, time has been just kind of we're like on 1.5x. Right? Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, it's been 6 years now. I think that we're in a really good place. But yeah, that idea really just stemmed from me wanting to, me going to the boot camp was me wanting to get my skill set better. Because I was like, all right, I'm done with this trying to play basketball thing. Let me take tech serious and let me try to figure out which career path I want to head down towards. So yeah.
Well, kudos to you for investing in yourself, because I feel like a lot of people will and
it was free. A lot of people don't even know that. I just had to commit the time.
City of Refuge offers like a ton of really great programs. Like they have the computer science program, and then they have a few other ones, but you just have to commit to going. And I kudos to you for investing in yourself that way, because I feel like a lot of people will have these insecurities or have that struggle with that same imposter syndrome, even if they are probably more qualified or competent to execute on something than somebody else, but they'll just stew in it.
I think I was the only one in that class that had a computer science degree, so they were like really shocked that I was in there. I was like, no, I never liked coding. I was like, so I want to learn how to do this in this way. They didn't
I
teach
feel
us this in
I feel like
in
people
college.
think like success in part is, you know, you get the degree and it's just supposed to happen for you,
It
right?
don't work like that.
There's so many extra steps, and I think that success is totally subjective, but like actually executing on something means putting in extra hours.
It does.
And investing that time into yourself, into your education, and that foundation is so important, right? I find that like almost every incredible opportunity that's come to me in adulthood, like post undergrad or post grad school, came to me as a result of me just taking an extra step to do something on my own.
Yep.
So
That's a fact.
So I believe this. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that you used a clone app to build the first iteration of HeRide.
I did.
Okay. So could you tell me, for those who may not know, could you tell us a little bit about what a clone app is, and then why you decided to use it?
Yeah, essentially, clone apps are apps that are copycats of apps that already exist. In layman's terms, that's the easiest way to say it. Found a company that makes those. And so when it comes to the pricing of clone apps, they're probably like a third of the price of you finding a developer that's going to be like, oh, I can build you this custom app, whatever. I'm like, all right, but I want an app that already exists. So can I get, do y'all have that? And it's essentially like a skeleton of whatever app that already exists. Sometimes they call it white labeling and stuff like that. But yeah, clone app is an app that it's a copy of an app that already exists.
So why did you decide to go that route outside of like 1/3 of the price?
Okay, outside of 1/3 of the price, time in terms of development time, they told me to take 3 months to get it done. So I was like, all right, cool, that'll work. I wanted to launch in 2019 at the time? 2020. I wanted to launch in 2020, of course. Didn't know anything about COVID at the time. But yeah, so that's why. Development time. I saw it. They sent me like the demo. I used it. I was like, okay, I like this. This is functional. This can work. And then I was like, this is good enough for me to be able to raise money and then get a better version built a little bit later. So those are kind of the decisions that went into my head when I thought about it. But of course, price was the number one thing.
Now, were there any cons? Because it sounds like it's all up from you doing the clone app. Like, it sounds like there's mostly positive here, but were there cons to using a clone?
Cons would have been me just not being as what is it? What do I call it? I call it anal. Me being as anal or like micromanaging them while they were developing. I think that they kind of like dragged their feet a little bit in certain areas. Then there were certain things that weren't complete that I was like, this was already, included in our contract. So it just extended the time that I could really release what I wanted to release. That's why I love like Claude AI and stuff like that now, because now I could take my source code, put it in the platform, and just have it explain everything that's in there, everything that they've done, what every iteration of the code means if I want to break it down in that way. And I can make the changes if I want to. I don't have to wait on anybody to do any type of changes. I don't have to be like... You got that
degree, you got the foundation in from the boot camp, you got it all.
So I know how to prompt it exactly how I need it to do it to where it's not giving me ghost information or giving me ghost code or anything like that. I've actually already made changes on my production platform. Wow. I made like over 20 changes in 2 days.
Wow.
And that's stuff that would have took like 3 or 4 weeks to complete if I would have just went and had to outsource that to a developer. So it's it's simplifying my life in that way. And I love it. Like I don't complain about it at all. I pay $100 a month for the max plan, and it's the best $100 I've ever spent.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, that's a great endorsement for Claude.
Shout out to them, yeah.
A great endorsement
People
for Claude.
People been talking about it for over a year, and I just haven't really looked into it. And I looked into it, and I was like, oh, wow, this is pretty robust. It's really good.
My homegirl swears by Claude. She absolutely swears by it, and I haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, but I need to get on it. I need to get on it. I think I want to dive a little bit more into your relationship with those developers. I assume that you probably moved on from them, from working with them.
No, they're actually building the new version of my app.
They're still working on it. Okay, so you just had to get them in line to make sure that the product... Okay, so I know a lot of people have like initial poor relationships with developers, right? What did you do to ensure that it went from this process where they were missing things from like your scope of work and your requirements to now we have a great relationship and they're building the next iteration?
Me being more on top of just being a project manager in a sense. So now for this iteration of the app, we meet once a week.
Okay.
I have them meeting once a week, give me a progress updates. They give me, they send me a report every week of everything that they've done every week, so that we can so I can stay on top of their progress for everything. And then of course you make sure payments are in milestones. So until certain things are completed, they don't receive payment. But just making sure that the communication is constant. I have MFA logins for everything. So whenever they logging in to do work, I know that they're logging in because it sends a code to my phone. So like little stuff like that. Had to become a little bit of a micromanager in that way, but it is what it is because I needed to make sure that the deadlines are actually they stick to the deadlines.
Did you find like it was an uphill battle in getting them on board like that? Or was it more just so like when they saw that you were running a tight ship, they kind of got in line?
Yeah, that's essentially it. You have to lead by example and commit to it. So if you're telling them, and of course we're on a different time zones. So it's like, okay, I'm telling them, hey, yeah, we're going to meet when, 3:00 in the morning. I think at first they probably, most of them, especially they overseas, they're probably like, these folks ain't going to wake up or whatever. But when they see, hey guys, I'm on a meeting or I'm on the call, like they're probably like, oh God, like this person is not
serious.
Yeah, like she's serious. So it's kind of like when you are consistent in that way, they're consistent in that way. That's essentially it. But if you are extremely lax and you're not checking in, they're not going to be working on your product. I'm assuming ain't no telling how many projects that they're working on.
Absolutely.
So it's like you just have to stay on top of yours because again, this is your money that you're spending. And so they're doing the work, but in terms of if you want them to do the work and have it completed by the deadline, you got to stay on top of them for that.
For sure. I think one of the biggest misconceptions people have, especially when they don't have a technical background or just don't have that foundational education, is that once I hand my project over to the developers, like I'm done for the moment. Like I can rest, I can relax. Like this is a time where you should be turning up as an entrepreneur. One, you need to put on your project management hat to make sure this project goes smoothly. Like
your QA, you got to test.
You need to have somebody testing things, right? But you're at the helm of this, right? And I kind of relate it to you being like almost like the architect or a project foreman, and then them being construction workers, right? Like they're there to execute and to build, but you got to make sure every part of this project is delivered. It's still on you, right? And this is your baby. This is your business, right? And you want to make sure that it comes out straight, right? Yep. So you need to be present in that. And then also be working on sales, right? Like even if you don't have to be as hands-on with project management, I think you should be selling, right? Sure. Your website needs to be up, and even if you haven't launched yet, people need to be able to input their emails and collect that and opt-in. You need to be able to be, if you're dealing with vendors or something like that, engaging with them and doing all that relevant things. So when the app is done, right, because you project manage it properly, like it is actually ready to go and it's a freestanding business. And I think people forget that. I think people separate, like, because it's a digital-based business, people separate the idea of it actually being a business versus being a piece of software. Like, no, you still got to build the business.
Exactly. Even us, like when we dropped a new version of this app, we're adding like a dispatcher platform and stuff like that, but we're going to redo our whole marketing plan, reach out to the news agencies and all that good stuff, letting them know like, hey, we got a new version of the app, runs a lot better, runs a lot smoother, got some new features, all that other stuff. And that's a lot of the free marketing that really helped us grow from the get-go. And so people, a lot of people don't understand that. They think they could just drop an app on the App Store and then 1 million, and then 2 weeks later they have 1 million downloads. It don't work like that. So you still have to build the business step by step. I still gotta get drivers every single day. People ask us every single day, are you hiring drivers? I'm like, is Uber and Lyft hiring drivers every day? Yes. So if they are hiring drivers every day, we are hiring drivers every day. So you ain't even got to ask. Just apply. Just apply.
For sure.
So we get you on that road. Yeah.
For sure. Now I want to talk about like did you have to go through a lot of like legal ramifications or any
Not too many.
policy? Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to dive into that because again, on the business side, people forget I have to build a business around this software. It's just delivered as a piece of software, but I have to build a business around it. And so I would love to know like what kind of red tape, if any, you kind of had to navigate to get on the road and to be compliant and also the interactions with the airport. I know that you said that they were pretty friendly and responsive, but what is that like working with corporates in affiliation with having to deploy a business?
Yeah, so the main thing is just making sure that we were compliant based on the law. There's insurance that we needed to get, so we are insured. We have so rideshare companies are listed as TNC companies, transportation network companies. So there's a permit that all states have. I think Georgia's the cheapest. I'm pretty sure they are. It was like $75, so we had to pay that.
It's not bad at all.
Not at all. And our highest expense is insurance every month. So insurance, making sure you're compliant with that. And then when we first was on the news, there was a guy that filed with the EEOC saying that we're discriminating towards men. And so I had to handle that legal matter. We won that incident, so it's so if it does come up again, we won't really I won't have to pay a lawyer to handle it because we've already got a case about it. But we weren't looked at as at fault. So a lot of people look at like, okay, yeah, only the women on the platform. We talking about drivers are drivers, but they're also 1099 workers. And then when it comes to HeRide, the business, it's not only women that work in the business of HeRide. So if I don't know what he was trying to say that we were discriminating. Yeah, he was just trying to chase something. But he ain't getting nothing. But those are only two things that we've had to deal with. And then I just wake up in the morning and I pray every day that nobody gets into a car accident because insurance is just so expensive. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that we have to think about every month is just how we're going to pay insurance and just making sure that we have enough drivers on the road that are safe drivers. So I'm more of a stickler when it comes to putting drivers on the platform. You can't really have anything on your record right now. I just can't risk it right now.
Absolutely. I understand that. And it's safety first.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like, in addition to running this business full time, that you take on some other projects or you possibly have a job as well.
Yeah, so I have a full-time job still.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is that like? Because I feel like there is a big misconception that in order for you to run a startup, you need to quit your job, you need to join an accelerator program, you need to go to the Bay Area, New York, Austin, Miami, or something like that, join a program and to venture into that. But your path looked a lot different. Yeah. So what is it like running a full-time company and having a full-time job?
I think it's just like me doing anything that I was already doing. I played 3 sports in college, and I was a computer science major while I was in college. So imagine me trying to manage, and I was an RA at one point, doing all these 3 things at the same time. So it's like, imagine me trying to manage all that while being 19 years old, 20 years old. This is just something I've always been doing. I've always been busy. One thing that I know is when I started my startup, I was like, I'm not going to be broke. Like, I'm not going to be
struggling founder
on the verge of homelessness, trying to run this business. Because I watch a lot of documentaries, listen to a lot of podcasts, all that stuff, and I feel like, and this is just me and my personal feelings, I feel like when you are running your business to that point to when you're that desperate, you'll take any deal that's put in front of you. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that desperate for a deal. So I want to run the business in a way to where it's like I'm still comfortable, my bills are still paid, and I work a job that I have to take home with me. So it's like I'm very particular about the jobs that I work. But yeah, I'm still gonna work. My rent's gonna be paid. Like I'm not. Yeah. So it's not. There's never an instance to where I have to be like, oh, I have to choose between one or the other. No, I just schedule around it, and it works out really well for me.
For sure. Yeah. I am a big advocate. Like,
do not quit your job. Oh my God.
Same.
See how much health insurance is?
People are always like, oh, Amanda, you've been an entrepreneur for so long. Baby, I keep a job. Let me look at the camera when I said I keep a job.
Hello?
Right? Like, I'm not quitting my job. I'm going to keep a job, a contract. I'm going to have like a W-2, a 1099, and I only take jobs,
trade on the side.
Exactly.
I trade at work.
Contracts that make sense for my lifestyle as an entrepreneur. I think people don't take that into consideration enough. It's like when you are thinking about building a business, you need to build a business that complements your lifestyle, right? Like one, right? Like if you are not the type of person who wants to be at a job at a desk 24/7, or if you don't want to be checking in with things, you don't want a product that you have to deal with constantly, you need to consider that before you build a business, right? Like
I work for an airline, so like being an entrepreneur, it's like getting a job at an airline where then you fly for free.
Period.
That eliminates an expense as an entrepreneur a major expense as an entrepreneur that I have. So it's like, kind of makes sense. Like if you're gonna work full time, at least make it make sense. Like that's kind of how I am. I'm like, make it make sense. Before I worked for the airline, I was a state employee, so all federal holidays I'm off, and I'm still getting paid. I'm still salary. I'm only Monday through Friday. It's a state job. You don't take any work home with you when you work a state job. It's literally probably one of the easiest jobs in the world. So it's like, you work smart. If you're going to continue to work while being an entrepreneur, get a job that makes sense. Don't get a job that's going to wear you out and then you can't work on your business when you get off. Get a job that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think we have choice in this. And
we do.
Oftentimes
we still have choice.
We act like we don't.
The job market sucks, but you still have a choice.
Right. You could decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And, I feel like it seems cliche when it says like pick the life that you want and reject everything outside of that. But it does. So
it sounds
relevant.
So easy, but the thing is, people. I think now I feel like it's harder for our generation.
Absolutely.
Because we have the internet is a distraction. Not gonna lie to you, internet's a distraction, social media's a distraction. So you seeing bits and pieces of people's lives that you think are happening faster than what it is, and it's like, oh, I think I have to do this faster, or I have to do this by a certain time, and it's like, no, stay on your path, stay on your race, stay in your lane, stay in your tunnel. But it's really hard for people to do that, and when they hear something as cliche as just, all you got to do is just this, and this, they're like, it's not that easy. It's like, yes, it is. But you have to actually do it in order to see.
I think it is that easy.
Actually, it's not that easy. You're right.
Well, I think it is that easy. However, that easy also requires discipline.
And that's the part.
That easy does require focus. Like
discipline is not.
It's not easy for a lot of people.
It's not easy I would say, for a majority.
Discipline ain't that hard for me, right?
I would say for majority, and the reason I say that is because New Year's resolutions are a thing every year.
Are cooked.
And if people are as disciplined as they say they are, they wouldn't be doing New Year's resolutions every year.
For sure. I think I'm very good with discipline. However, sometimes I cannot juggle multiple like life-shifting events at one time, right? Like I could be locked in on that business, right? But my diet is probably going to suffer.
I'm very good with discipline, but if I break my routine for one day, I beat myself up. Like I will like, and it's hard for me to get back on the path because I'm focused on the one day that I messed up. And it's like, Jill, move forward. Like it's okay. It's a new day.
Why do you think you're like that? Why do you think you hang on to that one mistake, despite the fact
shout out to therapy
Jill, you are doing outstanding. I know, right? Outside of that one day.
Shout out to therapy, but it's the way that I was raised. I grew up in a household that was my parents were big sticklers on education, being correct, being accurate. My parents were from up north. We moved down south, and so he didn't even want us to talk like we from down south. Like if we said ain't never, like he damn near pull the car over and be like, oh my God, like he's a big stickler on grammar and stuff like that. So I grew up in a household that was just more so focused on like academic excellence and being and achieving in that way. And so especially once I started school and they was like, oh yeah, she's like really smart. Like you got the parents and the teachers like, hey, your kid's really smart. So they're taking this really, really seriously. So I think that it comes from that. It comes from me not wanting to disappoint my parents, being a high achieving student my entire life in that sense. Like I was always a kid that got good grades.
The high achieving gifted kid.
Yeah, I was in gifted. Yeah, I was in gifted. But not only was I in gifted, once my dad passed away, I got into sports. So I'm gifted and intelligent in that way, but I'm also extremely athletic. So it's like I have two different sides, two different friend groups, two different lives. It's Hannah Montana in a sense. but yeah, so it comes from that. And the beat in the beating myself up is just like I'm used to achieving
of excellence.
Achieving excellence. Yeah, there's a certain level that I set for myself, and so if I don't reach that level, I'm hard on myself. So that's all.
How are you navigating? I don't know if you are trying to overcome that.
I am. Okay. It's stressful.
How are you going about that? Like, do you have any strategies or tips or techniques that you are implementing in your own life that help you not like sit in that?
I'm trying to like really just do better at letting it go. Ain't really nothing else that you can do. Is just like let it go, move on, Jill. If I can't get it out of my head, I'll take a nap. Just fall asleep.
Lay down.
Lay down. It's just one of the first things I do. The second thing is getting back into working out. And like going and running. Even if it's less than a mile, even if it's a mile or something like that. That little quick run.
You finna run in this snowstorm?
Nah, I'm running side. Yeah. I'll hit a treadmill. I ain't crazy. But doing some type of physical activity that'll take my mind off of that. And then even if it does creep back up, just understand, like, continue to move forward. Like, it's a new day. I'm giving myself 24 hours to be upset about it. That's kind of like my new thing that I do is like, okay, you messed up. 24 hours, you can be sad about it, and then we got to move forward.
For sure. A couple of years
ago. Therapy.
Yeah, therapy. Shout out to therapy. I think therapy is like the gym for your mind.
I do it once a week, even if I don't have a bad week.
Twice a month, but once a week is great. I love that you have that degree of self-care for yourself. A couple of years ago, I went to a self-care day1party that was hosted by Sheila Rulak of like Curly Curvy Conscious. And, I'd never been to a self-care day party. It was a great opportunity where like, there was a bunch of women there. They were, doing yoga, meditation, one-on-one consults, and just pampering themselves. And there was a therapist there, and she was like, you got to schedule time for the bullshit, right? Because the bullshit in life is inevitable. You can't prevent it, right? You're going to mess up. You're human. Sure. And so schedule time for it. She says, give yourself a window of time to be upset and then let that shit go.
Yep.
And ever since she said that was probably like 2018 when she said that. But every time I'd be like, you know what, Amanda, you upset? Just schedule time for the bullshit and just keep it moving.
Yep, and I have to understand that it's okay to have these feelings. I get so used to trying to be like one emotion, and it's like, no, Jill, like if you're upset, it's okay to be upset. Like sit in that for a second, and then it's okay, move on.
For sure. Now we're gonna wrap up soon, but I wanted to allow you to give pieces of advice to people who are thinking about jumping in the founder's seat.
Yeah.
I know you're technical. But if you weren't, what advice would you give to non-technical founders who are thinking about starting up? Find
somebody that is technical to put on your team. If you can't find somebody that's technical, then you have to be committed to becoming technical. A lot of non-technical founders like to be like, I'm not technical. You don't need to be screaming that out loud. That's not something you want to be known for. You want to be you have to be technical at some point. Because if you are going to be the person that's saying that you're going to be running the business, then you have to have some type of technical acumen of some sort. So that's literally my only advice.
I got you.
Yeah.
So I started off as a non-technical founder, but I found myself immersing myself in product development, right? So like, even though I still don't identify as technical, I still don't tinker with code. I understand what's happening with the code, right?
That makes you technical. Right? I don't think people understand. If you understand. Even if you don't code on a daily basis, but you understand what is laid in front of you, you're technical. You're technical.
Okay.
You're technical.
You guys, I might be a technical founder.
Don't let these folks that sit here and code and work out a term every day make you feel bad, man. It's okay. That's why they're stressed right now because AI can do their job just as fast, and it's like, 10 times faster than what they can do it as, and they can no longer overcharge people and be like, oh, it's $125 an hour, and it's going to take me 2 weeks to add this back button on your website when it don't take that long to do that.
For sure. So, what do you think is going to happen to their jobs or what?
The ones that learn to use AI as a tool to assist them in the work that they do, they're going to be the ones that are either going to just start charging more and telling people that I can do this in less time, because they use AI as a tool, they're going to be the ones that survive.
Yeah.
The ones that are going to be complaining about it, they're just going to they're the ones that are just going to fall off in the wind, unfortunately. But it's a tool. Use it as a tool. That's like people that's like people that when Google first came out and Wikipedia first came out, and they were like, I'm not using this. This is not helpful. This will not advance, help me with my work. Those people probably got fired from their jobs.
Absolutely.
Because it was probably taking them way longer to complete tasks, and it's because they refused to use Google. And it's like, everybody's using it, bro. Just
embrace it, right?
Yeah. Now, my biggest thing is the contrast to what it's doing in the environment. I am paying attention to that. Yes, I am a user of these platforms, but I am paying attention to that. And I am paying attention to the fact that they only seem to find a way to put data centers in places,
in
black neighborhoods or places where people are around the poverty line. So it's like, I'm not a fan of that at all. But I am a fan of how advanced it is, helping me do my work and helping me run my business.
For sure. I tell people that AI is a tool to improve your quality of life, whatever that might mean for you, right? And it certainly made my life a lot easier. It's made, project management, project execution a lot easier. And what I think is going to happen with a lot of developers is almost similar to what you did with like the clone, right? You're going to see a lot more developers venturing into productized services. So services that they used to like charge hourly for, right? And say, okay, this is going to be, 100 hours for me to execute, and it's going to take me 6 months to do it, right? Yep. It's going to package it up and say, okay, it takes me, 2 weeks to do this, and I'll charge you a flat rate of X amount of dollars to do it, right? And so I think that's actually better for everyone in the ecosystem.
I agree. I feel like you could take on more projects as a developer, get more stuff completed, and charge more because you're doing it in quicker time. I don't know. That just makes sense to me.
It makes sense to me too. So.
But it is what it is.
Now, wrapping up, what is one myth about tech entrepreneurship that you would like to debunk? What do you think that's out there in the startup ecosystems that is lingering that just gives you the ick?
This might be a controversial take.
Oh, well, we ready for it.
I don't know. Who knows? I think that other Black founders that are in tech are not as helpful as people think they are. Yeah. I've met a lot of other Black founders in tech, and we're talking about people that have been funded, people that are in great spaces, like when it comes to how they built their company and where they're at. That reaching back and helping is not as often as you think it would be. It's not there. That community is not where it should be. For me personally. Yeah, but this has just come from someone who played hella team sports in school. So I understand what it means to be a teammate to somebody. I understand what it means to just help somebody out the kindness of your heart. So I just don't see a lot of that.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it is rooted in a degree of scarcity or selfishness?
Yep.
Okay.
We are in a space where, for women, Black women founders, less than 2%. A percentage of 2% or a percentage of 1% get funding. So when you do get that funding, it's like, I'm talking about they garden it with their life.
Yeah.
So, and it's almost like, well, if I invite somebody else into the space, then what happens with my next round of funding? Is that going to get split between me and this other company? Because they're only choosing one Black company.
Yeah.
So, you get what I'm saying? So that's where the competition comes from, because the lack of scarcity and resources. But I feel like we are... we bought into this idea of capitalism, being founders and all this other stuff, but it's like, okay, we're chasing the money where they say that we have to get it from. Why not go to our communities? Our community, I don't care what nobody says, Black community we spend the most money, right?
Absolutely.
But it's all about getting our community to buy in. And so if we can get our community to buy in and use our products and be proud of using our products, and tell, I don't care about the negative reviews that people give Black businesses. You can work through that. I feel like that happens everywhere. People just only pay attention to what they want to see on their timeline. But I feel like getting the money from your own community is really the route that we should go. But we've been told and been taught that we have to go get it from these other places. And so once we get it from these places, it's kind of like they showed it because it's like, okay, now I got mine, so I'm gonna make sure I do everything to keep mine instead of inviting somebody else in.
been working in the tech ecosystem space for a really long time. So I think it's really interesting that you said that because I've seen like ebbs and flows. No, not even opposite. Just like ebbs and flows and waves of different cycles, right? And so I would say, you know, and I'm kind of dating myself here, almost like, I guess, like 10 to 15 years ago, I think it was a lot more communal, right? Like, because there was less people working on startups, working on products, right? And so the few people who were working on products, like you would see them constantly. You're always running into each other and you're like, okay, we kind of need each other and we need to like share insight so we can navigate this space. I think as information about startups become more accessible and then like more products and services surrounding like AI, no code, low code tools, you have more people doing like I want to say like pop-up startups where like they're jumping into a venture. They're not really committed to like building a scalable company. They're just like whatever.
You got people that are professional pitchers. Right. I've met people like that. They're just out here making money doing winning pitch competitions.
Absolutely, but like they don't
no
have
progress
a product
on the business.
They don't have a product. They're just like, but sometimes they be winning. Like okay, you just won $50,000, so they've perfected this pitch, right? And I understand how some people kind of had to take a step back because, you know, you're giving so much access to yourself, right? And you're like, you know, this person, I just gave them all this insight, gave them all this time, and this person hasn't even built a product, right? It's 2, 3, 4 years later. Where's the product, baby?
That's and that is the part that gets me, especially with the way that I create content or what I want to do or how I want to give back. I'm not into like making a course or selling a course or becoming anybody's mentor. I don't have time. I barely have time to breathe. So like the way that I want to give back to people that even if they take the information, they don't do anything with it. I don't care. I just want to give back in a way to where I just do it through my social media. And I'm like, hey, y'all. So I just experienced this whole, like, I wasted $18,000 because I hired the wrong dev team. Yeah. Here's what's not to do to make sure that you don't make the same mistake I did and, like, really be more detailed and not be just surface level. I feel like a lot of people get to become successful and the advice that they give to other people that are trying to get to where they're at is very surface level stuff. And I've even been in rooms and heard conversations with people there be like, well, there's just certain things that you have to go through. And it's like, well, tell them what it is. Yeah. Like, tell them what it is. Don't gatekeep it in that way. Like, tell them, hey, like, I had this issue where I chose the wrong insurance company and ended up wasting this amount of. That's the part that people that are successful don't want to talk about. They never want to talk about their failures or their losses. They don't want to talk about that. That's the lesson learned that they like to gatekeep, that they're like, oh, well, somebody else is just going to have to go through that. Because if I help them get over that part, then they won't have worked as hard as I had to work to get to this point.
I think people have some type of, and I don't know if it's an insecurity. I don't know what the right word for that is.
I think it is an insecurity.
I think people
want
to see you be successful, but they don't want
you more successful than them,
or as fast
or faster than them,
or
easier
right?
than them,
right?
in their mind.
Because like if it took me 2 years to get this company off the ground, but you did it in 6 months because based on the advice that I gave you, like what does that say about me, right?
I think it looks give like incredible advice.
Exactly.
My God.
I think they look at it as this person, like internally, they internalize that as some failure on their part, as opposed to you giving relevant advice. Like a big part of the reason why I do this podcast, why I do all the things that I do, is because my first app, I lost $40,000 not knowing what I didn't know. I didn't have that foundational education. I just thought, okay, well, I know a little bit more about tech than most people. I could navigate this. And it humbled my ass, right? And so after I start seeing more successful apps, after, I continued to, do the serial entrepreneur thing, I just got a ton of people who were reaching out to me like, hey, Amanda, I have an app idea. I don't know where to start, right? And that's why the show's called I Have an App Idea, because so many people wrote me emails. I got in handwritten letters and things like that. I have an app idea. And so I couldn't help everybody, right? I couldn't make myself accessible to every single person. So I wrote a book and people were like, oh, well, we want a program and we want video and we course it. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm providing you. But
this is what I'm giving.
Yeah, this is my reply all, right? This is my reply. I just can't be accessible to everything and everyone. But I think there is still things that people can do and support that you can give. So like you said, I think being transparent, operating as your true self, sharing those stories of how you took an L and not being ashamed of those things, right? Like I, may never be positioned as a unicorn entrepreneur, right? But I think by sharing my testimonial, my story, providing my book, providing this like insights like this, I may position the next unicorn or the next even zebra founder to navigate and not make those same mistakes.
And just straight up support those people.
For sure.
That's it. Just don't be no hater. I feel like a lot of people feel like that because they really be haters. Yeah. Like, if ain't no hate in my blood. So I'm like, I tell people about whatever it is that they want to tell. I don't charge, but I'm like, here's this information. They're like, oh my God, like, I thank you so much. I'm like, no problem. Like, I wish I had somebody to tell me when I was looking for information like that. So, I mean, I the joy that I get out of it is the joy that people, the joy on their faces when they're like, wow, like, you're really just giving this information out. I'm like, like, do something with it. That's what I tell them. I'm like, do something with it.
I think if those people actually gave themselves the opportunity to see somebody who they've supported actually execute on that information, I think they would be so filled up by it that they might change their tune. Because when I see my founders and people who've read my book or gone through my program or listen to my podcast say, hey, Amanda, like I took that advice, it changed this perspective on me, and I went out and I made $100,000, or, I scaled this business, or I brought on these amount of vendors. I recently had one of my former students told me that in the past 3 years, they've employed 60 people. Yeah. And I'm like,
that's incredible.
Like that warms my heart, and that like how many families have been impacted because 60 people now have new sources of income as a result of me just not keeping information.
And it should, because you're doing, and it comes from a place of real care and consideration. But if you're just doing it from a place of I'm just trying to make some more money, then you wouldn't care about those testimony stories and stuff like that. It wouldn't move you in that way.
For sure. So I hope to create 10,000 more stories like that, and I hope that this interview will be a part of it. So wrapping up, what is next for HeRide? What is next for you? Where can people find you?
So what's next for HeRide is we're just trying to increase our revenue. We got a dispatcher platform that we're adding on. We got contracts with some transportation service providers around here in the city that we're partnering up with. So like I said, just trying to increase that revenue. I thought about it when we first started talking at the beginning of the show. I wanted to share the company that made my app. And so the name of the company is AppScript. It's AppScrip.com. So if anybody's looking to try to get clone apps made, look through them. The cost average is around $15,000. So just understand that they're not any $5,000 apps anymore. Sorry, guys. Where you can find me, where you can find HeRide. For HeRide anything, it is at GETHERIDE on any social media platform. And then it's HeRide.com for a website. And there's only one R in HeRide, so HeRide.com. And then for me, my name on social media is The Real Jill Gates on Instagram. And so if you want to hit me up, DM me. That's where I post all my content when it comes to just tech-related stuff. It's really everything about my life. I haven't really made a page that's just dedicated to one thing. This is the same social media page I made when I was in high school. So so reach out to me. That's how you can reach me.
Well, thank you, Jill, for being here. This will be incredibly insightful. I actually have used AppScript before.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to talk about your experience off camera.
AppScript was,
they're not that bad.
They're not that bad, but I used them, I think, during COVID and it was just a challenge because everybody kept getting sick. Yeah. Right? Yep. And so it was, they're a good company. They create great products, but that was just a challenge in that like we kept having not turnover, but like, COVID was new and, people were getting really, really sick. And so you would have a project manager and then be like, okay, they're working on the project for like 3 weeks and then they got COVID. Yep. And so that was a challenge, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't experience anything like that anytime soon again. And, I think working with AppScript will be a lot different for most people.
Yeah, I think it will be. They've gotten themselves together a lot better. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you for being here, Jill. Really appreciate this. And, if you're at the Atlanta airport or just around the Atlanta area, get on HeRide.
Use HeRide. We have We have a discount code and everything. Heart26. Yeah, it depends on the year. Yeah, Heart26.
All right, and that's heart written out, no emoji.
Heart. HART is the airport. So you get 10% off your ride if you use it. Book ahead. You pre-book in advance.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jill. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.